the sun that eggs me on. And I circle back to the storm. And today I smile, and I'm patient today, and I'm giving today the beautiful today. Yes, I'm peaceful today. I'm loving today. What a beautiful today. What a beautiful today. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
As a first step, his talk today is called Be Your Own Authority. Please join me in welcoming home our new consulting minister, Reverend Donald Graves.
So I always, upon not having spoken at a particular community for a while, am tempted to tell you everything. But I got put on notice today, this morning, by Linda. Just before we came up here, she said, "How long do you think a speaker should talk?" And my guideline is 20 to 25 minutes, and if he's really good, 20 minutes, because you want to leave them wanting more. So I'm not going to tell you everything, but I am going to give you a basis, because today's talk sets the foundation for everything we're going to do over this next 12 months. Everything. And being your own authority is key to that process. Being able to speak from your own authority is key. You see, insight is critical. Insight. Looking within, seeing what you see, and then telling the truth about that. It's like, how many here have behaviors that don't work? Yes. How many here have, more importantly, behaviors that do? And how many here have a mind that can tell the difference? Linda? So, as we go through this little exercise today, I trust that you're going to have a lot of fun. So I have to ask first question. The next question is, how many of you have never heard me speak before? Fun! I get to use all sorts of old stuff. Well, a good buddy of mine, Terry McBride, we've known each other for over 30 years now. And he was accused one time of being a one-trick pony, and that's something I am not and never will be as a one-trick pony. I like to find all sorts of different ways of saying the same thing, because that's what the job is up here. Finding different ways that people can understand the basic principle that is done unto you as you really believe, and really is redundant, okay? That doesn't make any sense. But we need to say it just to clarify the fact that there is what you believe, and there's what you wish you believe, and there's what you'd like to believe. But what you really believe is the key. So, be your own authority. Let's see here. You can be your own authority by claiming the God power and intelligence individually, and then by claiming it collectively as this center. The can be is really important. Can be. You have the capacity, the ability to be your own authority. And you do so by claiming the God power and intelligence that lives within. The God power, not God's power. This is not something outside of you, it's within you, and everything outside of you just helps you remember or remind you about or say in different ways and hear in different concepts the very truth that you already know. The truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, which includes the facts, the content, the actual things in your physical life, this stage, the lights above, the recording that's going on, all of that stuff, as well as the invisible principles that cause those very things to be in place right here, right now. And is there anybody who really believes that we all are experiencing the same thing right now? I'm so glad to see that. Because the fact remains, every person here experiences differently and experiences the same event a little bit differently because every perspective is a little different. And so our experiences will vary. So, the God power, not God's power and intelligence, individually, that's where this collective entity called Center for Spiritual Living Salt Lake, that's where this particular entity starts, is with each individual's consciousness, each individual's awakening, each individual's awareness of the God intelligence and power right here, right now. And as that evolves, so does this community. That's the key. So, where do you start? Well, Ernest Holmes said you got to start where you are. So, many of you know that I have a list of almost 200 Graves laws. And that's going to be several little books. But one of those Graves laws is, starting where you are, is really about your definitions are your law, your Lord, your definitions Lord over you. How you define something from an experience you've had in the past determines how you will probably at least tend to experience it in the future. So, for instance, what is authority? So I wrote down some of my own answers to the question this morning, and then I asked Jan, what's an authority? And she said, somebody who knows more than you do. Somebody who tells you what to do. I really like that. But why do you let people tell you what to do? Hopefully they know more than you, and they can give you some information, some wisdom, some guidance that will help you manage your life a little more effectively or manage this particular situation a little more effectively. People, the secret to moving forward in happiness, health, prosperity, peace, and ease is nothing more than a set of skills. Now, I know some people teach the idea of God's grace is how you make it. You can't get to heaven through works alone and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, working this stuff helps. I have been all over the map, from the depths of despair to the heavenly ecstasy that can come in any given experience. And most of that I've done over the last 30 plus years by doing this work. I haven't found any single place where it all comes together so completely and so straightforwardly. It's not necessarily easy, like the song said, and it's absolutely straightforward. If you don't like what you're experiencing, then you can change the beliefs and opinions you have had up to this point in time, which are nothing more than a collection of thoughts and conclusions you have made up to this point in time, which is nothing more than the thoughts that led to those thoughts and conclusions and beliefs and definitions up to this point in time. Everybody here has changed their mind somewhere, somehow, about something. I can't tell you how many people have said, I'm so grateful that the God I have today is so much bigger than the God I used to know. I've got more available information, if you will. I've got more available power. My instincts, my intuition improves. You can learn to listen better to your instincts and intuition instead of just to what scrambles in the head. So, Emmett Fox. This is one of the things that helps us understand where we are, how we got to where we are. So this is really critical. Everything good or bad that comes into your life is there as the result of unvarying, inescapable law. And the only operator of the law is none other than yourself. Consciously or unconsciously, you have at some time or other produced every condition, desirable or undesirable, that you find in either your bodily health or your circumstances today. Now, be very clear. It's not your fault. You're just responsible for it. There's a difference. Listen very carefully. There's a difference. If you're new to this philosophy, that may come across as contradictory, but it's not. Your fault is about blame, shame, and guilt, and all that deliciously rich drama stuff. Who here is sick of guilt, blame, and all that rich drama stuff? Good. Then stop it. Bob Newhart's approach. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Consciously or unconsciously, everything in your bodily health, your circumstances today, has been decided within. That's great news. If it's been decided within, it can be undecided and redecided, differently decided. I wrote a workshop, seems like 100 years ago now, and it started out as Reinvent Yourself, as I was wanting people to look at and reconsider their life. And then I realized that's not what this is about. This is about, right this very minute, inventing yourself. Invent yourself anew, which requires being awake, paying attention to what's going on, what do you like, what you don't like, knowing what you want in your life, any given moment in time. And I had somebody tell me one time that this was the work of the devil. This philosophy was the work of the devil. Can you believe that? It's true. He was convinced it was true. And then he said, and I know all about that religious science stuff, it's the easy man's road. Really? I have never found anything more difficult than staying conscious. It's so much easier to just go unconscious, get into the routine, do the habits, habitual thinking, habitual interactions, habitual socializing. You know, you just do this, and everything's just fine. Well, what happens when you have 85 of that, this in order? Because if you don't do it that particular way, everything is going to fall apart. I quit. I'm not going to try to recreate all that stuff. I'm not going to memorize all that stuff. I want to know what works right here, right now. As long as you go on thinking wrongly about yourself and about life, the same sort of difficulties will harass you. There is a simple way out of the trouble. There is a simple way out of the trouble. He didn't say it was easy, just simple. Learn how to think rightly instead of wrongly. Any questions? Straightforward, isn't it? And the conditions at once begin to improve until sooner or later all ill health, poverty, and disharmony must disappear. Wow. So since that's the whole lesson, are we done? No, this is where it begins. Right here, this is where it begins. So, how? This is not going to be a Sunday morning workshop, although, man, I am so tempted because I want to tell you everything, but Linda told me I can't do that. Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. posted a thing on his Facebook page that somebody captured and sent to me. It's the secret number 1 to happiness. And it says, I don't know if you can read it back there because the print is fairly small. Commitment is secret number one. This foundational secret is not what most people think. Making a commitment to yourself rather than anyone else is the first step in creating a healthy and happy relationship. Instead of trying to change or mold yourself into who you think others want you to be, figure that one out. Commit to finding out who you really are and what you really want. From this place of self-knowledge and self-love, you can then fully commit to another. The key is releasing the areas in which you judge yourself or play the victim and taking full responsibility for your own happiness. So I shared last September, I think it was, or August, whenever it was I spoke here last, the greatest story you ever told. During that process, how Reverend Nicole Murgis, one of our people, who now is Director of Education at the Home Office in Golden, Colorado, she and I were talking the night before, and we hadn't seen each other in probably almost 10 years. And she asked me, "Are you happy?" It sort of set me back. Am I happy? I don't think about if I'm happy or not. Because I know that in any given moment in time, if I want to be happy, I know what I can do. You heard a couple of songs this morning that gave guidance about that. I said, so I really don't know how to answer that question because that's not relevant to me. But I can tell you that I am more at peace than ever before. Rock on. I'll take peace over happiness any day. How about you? Happiness is kind of more surface, if you will. Peace is within. Joy is within. That is what we subscribe to in this philosophy, that you go for what is within. So another piece, I'm so glad that Will sang a Joni Mitchell song because I would like to share with you an article that I came across by Seth Godin. I don't know how many of you know who Seth Godin is. He's a marketing teacher, educator, and he writes blogs. And some of his blogs are very insightful. Some of his blogs are overly complicated. They're kind of like Ken Wilber-ish language. And then other times, he captures something just so succinctly that I just so appreciate how it makes me rethink how I might be holding some particular point of view. The title of this blog is, "Where's Your Reckless Daughter?" Joni Mitchell was one of a kind. A sensation, a record-selling machine with legions of fans. And then she made Don Juan's Reckless Daughter, a personal, idiosyncratic album that marked the final gold record of her best-selling streak. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew that the crowd wasn't going to follow her, just as Dylan knew what would happen when he went electric, then gospel. She had a choice. To make the records her fans had decided in advance that they wanted to hear, or to make the music she was proud of. After this, she was free. Free to make the music she heard in her head, the music she wanted to share. In her post-Top 40 world, the irony is clear. Your reckless daughter might very well be the breakthrough you need to reach your true audience and to do the work you're most proud to do. The challenge is in accepting that the masses might not cheer you on. You know, not everybody belongs in this center. Get over that notion if you have it. And everyone is welcomed here. My peers used to just bemoan the open door policy that most of our centers have. That people come in, they get what they need, then they leave. They're free. What happens if you get free? You go and do your life. What if you find out what you really want? Then you go forth and start working on having that, experiencing that, accepting that into your life. Why would you not want to be your own authority? Erica John captured it beautifully. Take your life in your own hands, and what happens? A terrible thing, no one to blame. Say hallelujah. Hallelujah. So why be your own authority? First, it's a whole lot more fun. And two, there are many more possibilities available to you. There are many more possibilities available to all of us, to the degree that we individually become our own authority and then collectively determine what our message really is, what our purpose really is, and then keep our attention on that, because I'm telling you what, you will absolutely realize over this next year, you will have a personal agenda that may not be in alignment with anybody else's. But what if the group agenda can help you realize your agenda? What if you keep looking to determine how your agenda can be realized as the group, the collective agenda gets realized? And as I listened to deeply the purpose statement, vision statement, mission statement, whatever you want to call it this week, that you guys all shared when we began the service, look in there and see how your personal agenda, the things you want most out of your life, can be realized therein. And I saw it was big enough, it would realize or help anybody realize their own agenda. Create a context in which they can. So, be your own authority because, as Luther Price wrote, always be what you is and not what you ain't, because if you ain't what you is, then you is what you ain't. And I think that's where the key really is. Be what you is. A lot of other people have said it similarly. How would you say it? How would you express your own authority? How do you live your unique individual life as the God expression in you as you? And the more of us who do that, the more God is available to this whole community. Bless you. So now we do this marvelous thing called spiritual mind treatment. It's our closing prayer. I use the words treatment and prayer interchangeably. A lot of people like to make distinctions between what prayer is and what treatment is. Bottom line, we treat our own minds for a bigger awareness, a greater experience of life, ourselves, love, whatever the desire may happen to be. So as I speak in my words this morning, I encourage you to interpret into your own, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it reality. Some people call it belief. Some people call it whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. But interpret these words as your words, into your words. And let us all step into that space of the collective itself, the one mind itself, and reap from it that infinite reward. Let's pray together. So right now, eyes wide open, I gaze upon life, and I see there an infinite number of expressions of the divine. That power, that intelligence, the very presence itself that I experience as God. And though known by many different names, God, Allah, Brahma, Bahula, it matters not the name. What matters is how we interpret what that is. And right now, I accept a greater experience of that very infinite presence. Subsequently, I feel more of that power. I notice more of that intelligence moving through my mind as I think. My body experiences more of that perfection as it heals, regenerates, and rejuvenates itself. And I notice the harmony, the peace and ease in all interactions around me. because likely everyone wants the same thing: to be respected and honored for who they are. So I claim the experience, the full experience of life as good, as whole, as perfect, complete in every regard. So with joy in my heart and a smile that just fills my face, I let it be. And together we affirm it by saying, and so it is.